Hey YouTubers, Ed here. In this video I wanted to discuss a rather quick one, but just going over what I consider to be a properly prepared 2021 and beyond plan. And these are just my opinions, everybody's got their own, and of course this is just being put out for entertainment purposes only, not investment advice. Everybody should do their own due diligence before making the proper economic decision that's right for them. But with all that being said, a lot of the things that I'm going to go over here, most likely y'all are already aware of, especially if you got like an employer that might do a match on a 401k or something. But I'm going to go later into more specifics. This one, I want to do a broad overview, just kind of, if anybody wasn't aware of something, make it brought to light. And for those that just didn't take advantage, maybe it's worth a double take. And what I see essentially why these things are worth it are because the future, everything is uncertain. No one has a crystal ball, but personally I see rather a situation of a maze of dumpster fires that most folks are going to have to navigate through, regardless of what all the pawns on the TV or whatever media that's chosen says. They can spout whatever BS that they want about inflation not being all that real, or that this stuff isn't going to affect the middle class, or that essentially this is really just going to be for the, top levels of society that are going to foot the bill. Like, no. I'm sorry, it's a bubble that needs to be burst. This is real. It's going to affect everybody regardless. And unfortunately, the middle class is going to really, really get hit the hardest. And some things already been felt, be it, overall CPI data that came out, everybody knew, writing on the wall, but you got a lot of commodities that are through the roof, and even if it's just gas or something that, driving here to there, you've probably realized, the nutty things going on. And then, I'm not even going to get into situations about the whole, the boat, and then also the pipelines and other things like that. Just perfect timing. It's very ironic how a lot of this stuff happens to work just right in terms of timing, but another video for that one. What I wanted to mention, though, that's important, everybody should pay attention to. Big amount of deleveraging has been happening. Regardless of what people say, maybe it's not to the point of a Ray Dalio great deleveraging type of situation, but what's important, everybody should note, is that a lot of hedge funds, the biggest money movers essentially in the markets, and of course there's old money too, and average folks that kind of put in their funds as well, but the real money movers are the hedge funds. And in the average stock market, usually they get around 4-to-1 leverage, and that's not counting what they can get on the side from loans and other things. But in the crypto market, they get 100-to-1. And what have we been seeing since essentially the end of 2020? 2020 was a record year. Anybody that was invested made some massive profits, and those that walked away at the right times, oh my, yeah, that's going to be hard to beat. But what's going on now, especially, and again, I'm not going to be political about this, is everybody's got their own decisions. I try to stay around halfway, but things have to be called out for what it is, and what it became now is a shit show. And people can try to say, oh, it's all going to be positive and change and we're all going to be good, go back to normal. Unfortunately, no. It's going to take a decent bit longer to get back to normal, as much as I hate saying that. But things aren't pretty, and considering as bad as 2020 was, I'd rather go back to 2020. And most people that are invested or would do these types of things, if you could continue getting those returns, it would be a no-brainer. But it is what it is. No one can change reality, so you gotta be prepared for the future. Why am I talking about this? Because what I saw, especially around January, February time, where these massive amounts of money just flooded out of the market and moved into the crypto space, It's insane. And this is coming from somebody that already went through the 2017-18 crypto stuff, and I made a decent bit of cash on that, and that was like one of the first times that I actually really made some profits. But oh my, like right now, geez, it's dangerous. And of course, I recommend there's still profits to be made on both sides, but for anybody that's in crypto, be aware. And this money eventually, like Ray Dalio also mentioned, I don't know if it's going to be a great deleveraging like across the board, but what I figure is around half to 2/3 of the crypto market around October, December is going to be moving out. And because at a certain point you got to cash in profits while you can, and knowing what they do about the future and all these supply issues and multiple other things, companies not meeting their quotas, and even though now that there's a lot of stocks also companies that did meet their quotas or are overachieving them, everything's bottomed out because the big money is in another space at the moment. And this is why it's important when I'm going to be going through here to pick up, when there's blood in the streets, you want to buy, and as Warren Buffett says. But essentially, of course, I'd always recommend doing kind of dollar cost averaging, dabble a little bit here and there. You don't want to, jump with both feet in at once. But what do I want to mention about how to be prepared? So to get in the meat and potatoes of this video and to try to keep it short, I already went a little longer than I probably should have. Monetize your hobbies, monetize anything that you know. If you know languages, if you buy a lot of products, if you're constantly doing certain things for other people, try to monetize those things because you can get some money back. And why is it important? Because you can turn yourself into an S or a C Corp. Usually people choose the S because it's rather simpler. You're still going to have more paperwork than you would normally in taxes, but what you can do is you can write off things that you purchase for resale or other business expenses, things like food or gas, whatever. You can get 25% back on those on your taxes. Keep your receipts. Very important. And along with that too, you can take advantage of things like tax harvesting, where basically you'd sell securities, or if you got something that you didn't quite make the profit that you thought of, and you still got some left over, you can try to cash those out and either make just a little bit or cash out for the negative so that you can deduct your taxes on something else that you made a lot of money on the other side. And this is all important because you can have a variety of accounts that you can use to monitor these. And as an S or a C Corp, you can also take the advantage of having different bank accounts, things like stock accounts that you can use as private piggy banks and essentially move money around. Of course, you want to keep everything accounted for, and it just makes everything easier at the end. But there's also things like SoFi or Wealthfront, Betterment. They'll also kind of do an automated all-in-one app where you can kind of go and keep things a little more organized. And I've been looking into this. I'm one of those that has just a lot of everything, and I kind of want to condense some of these things, and I'm especially been looking into SoFi, but that's for another video as well. But essentially, what's more important as well, so beyond that point, once you've made some money, either be it from your current employer, or from your business, monetized hobby, etc., take some of that money and accumulate your necessities, the things that you know that you're going to use regardless. Get them. The ones that have a long shelf life, like food or other products that really don't expire, or even getting like what do you call that? Freeze dryer that you can get like 20 plus years on shelf life, and things like this. Get these big purchases, especially big purchases, cars, houses. Even though some of these prices are crazy now, it's going to be worse later when everything's factored in. Move money, if you've been expecting to get something later on in the next 2 years or so, get it now, especially if you're talking about with like a loan, or if you've got like, you know, whatever that's around like 2 or 5% interest. These types of things, they're more worth keeping if you have a backup like a job, or you've monetized your hobby. Anything that's over that, like 20%, like credit cards or you know, some other type of loans, get rid of those as fast as you can. You don't want to have the sword of Damocles. It's nice sometimes that you can use, you know, X amount of money and feel like a king, but sometimes it's worrying, so make sure to keep an eye on that. And beyond that point, with the big purchases, make sure to use credit card, or make sure to use coupons and use discounts. For example, if you know that there's sales, pre-plan these things so that you can make some money and save some money, and then you can use it for other things. And of course, there's many different opinions. Don't use money that you don't have. But if you got something to the side, of course, I still always recommend everybody keeping a nest egg at home in emergencies, for emergencies. But if you have more side money that's just sitting there, put it to work for you. And how do I mention putting to work? Essentially, there's two ways. There's the trading way, which I like during choppy markets like this, where essentially, and this goes for both crypto and stocks, and you can kind of trade between the waves of around 10 to 20 or so percent, and constantly take a little bit of profit. The more money you have, the more you can make, but you gotta be very careful and use limit orders so that you can make sure that they sell, and while you're asleep you can get out of those positions. You don't want to hold what you don't need to have. And beyond that too, there's things like metals and collectibles that you can also get. Some folks might want to stock those, some folks might just want to resell and again make just a little bit of profit. But be very careful where you get these things, because especially things like metal, I wouldn't recommend like a lot of resale websites like, you know, Etsy, eBay, or small things like, you know, buying from, you know, whatever, Craigslist or something. Buy from like a reputable dealer like Gainesville Coins or a big distributor, because you want to make sure that your stuff is real, and if possible too, along the way you want to have it tested. But going into what I consider for the long positions, and right now a lot of the market is bottomed out because, like I mentioned at the beginning, institutional money has been siphoned off into other things. But it's going to be just as fast as it was before. In February it's going to switch back, and a lot of these going back to work and Rona type stocks, things aren't going to go back to normal, unfortunately. And the future type stocks and the ones that have bottomed out now are some of the ones that you want to keep an eye on, especially if you're in a situation where you got like the options for an HSA or a 401k or a Roth IRA, something like that from your employer, and if they match it, you know, it's free money, just put it in. Most folks, you got for at least the 401ks and things, I think it's around like $5,000 to $6,000 depending how much, and for the Roth too, I'm not sure, but employers, they'll usually give you 5% of your gross pay. And then so look into these things, because things that are bottomed out now are worth loading up for these long positions, and you can still trade them too, you know. But if you're someone that just likes to kind of set it and forget it, these are the times that you want to buy in, because the switch is going to happen very quick. And I've mentioned before, but recently, since 2020, this is the biggest transfer of wealth in human history in the since World War II. I mean, short of like Yamashita type gold, like trillions of dollars. Well, hell, even in Bitcoin alone, you already got like $2+ trillion that went in the last few months. So I mean, it is what it is. But be aware of these things and make profits on them while you can, but try to leverage yourself out of, you know, or get yourself out of over leverage. And in things like crypto, if you got, make sure you have a cold storage wallet that you can keep your money on the side, not to have it in a, you know, in a trading account like an exchange, because there's hacking and there's also extortions and all this other crazy stuff going. But the point is, there's money to be made in both stocks and crypto right now, and there's so many things that are bottomed out that, again, when the switch happens, very fast. So I hope this information is useful. I think I went already a little over what I should have in my video, but basically be aware of these, because pretty much at the moment it might be feeling like throwing money into the fire, or quite a bit of uncertainty like FUD, but personally, what I'm doing is I'm getting in on some of this stuff, because essentially the levels that I'm seeing now are bottomed out in a lot of things, and there's very little downside. And compared to just leaving my money as money and on the side or under a mattress or something, I won't do that. And again, hopefully this information was helpful, and everybody should do their own due diligence. Hopefully there's some things here that might have been interesting and might be worth checking out. I'll be doing more detailed info along the way and getting into more specifics. But again, this was just a broad overview about what I see for 2020 and 2021 and beyond, and especially in terms of taxes for some of these long positions, they might be a little bit more worth it if you're not planning on cashing out in the next year or two. But yes, thanks again, and I'll be seeing y'all very soon, and have a great rest of your day. Take care, and best of luck.